The free agent deals are going to come in fast and furious this week. But before all the madness starts, let's look back at the madness from 2023. Was it good? Was it bad? Let's get our expectations in the right place today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins. And we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who make Locked On NFL Scouting your first listen every single day, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started.
Joseph, we are on Timeline Watch officially. Now, I mean, just in the pre-show, we're recording on Sunday. We usually record day of, but we're recording on Sunday afternoon. We had Andre James re-signing with the Raiders. Now, it's even going to go up even more intense as of noon today being Monday, when teams can start agreeing to terms and in principle with other teams' players. So here we are.
Busy, busy, busy.
We also had the announcement of Devondre Campbell's post-June first cut coming for the Packers.
Baker Mayfield re-signed with the Bucks today.
Very short span.
Kevin Byard to the Bears.
Right, 2 years, 15 for Kevin Byard, too.
I thought he did pretty good.
Not a small deal.
Yeah, he did pretty good on that one. So it's going to be a busy week, and as team building aficionados, we are going to love every second of it. It's going to be a great week to make sure that you're subscribed to this podcast, because we're going to do our best to stay on top of everything that's going on across the NFL. We have no plans other than to talk about what's going down in the National Football League. And one thing that we wanted to do today was look back. Let's look back at the same situation last year. We got a year of data. We got a bunch of deals to look back on from the 2023 free agent class. And not to toss a wet blanket over what's about to go down this week, but there are plenty of cautionary tales and things to point back at from last year when we started the new league year. So this is going to be fun to kind of look back with a year of data.
So let's start with this. There were 4 contracts signed in free agency last year with an AAV in excess of $20 million per season. Okay, these are your super-sized contracts. Derek Carr signed a 4-year, $150 million contract in New Orleans with the Saints. Jimmy Garoppolo signed a 3-year, $72.75 million contract with the Las Vegas Raiders. Javon Hargrave signed a 4-year, $84 million contract with the San Francisco 49ers. And Jawaan Taylor signed a 4-year, $80 million contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. 1 out of 4 ain't bad, I guess.
Brother, we're talking about the National Football League and committing $20 million a season for a player. You'd like to think better than 1 out of 4. That's not 250 is not even a good batting average in baseball.
Right. Well, as you reflect on these, I guess the source of greatest optimism is Jawaan Taylor, because he's a 25-year-old offensive tackle as compared to a couple of 31-year-old, 32-year-old quarterbacks in Javon Hargrave, who is the success story out of the group.
Yeah. Tough scene. Obviously, we both agree Hargrave is the good deal here. And maybe even better now that we've seen some of this defensive tackle market go up, what we think Wilkins is going to get, what we just saw Chris Jones get, what we just saw Justin Madubuike get. for Hargrave to come in at an AAV of exactly 20 million, you feel
21.
pretty good about.
21.
Is it 21? Yeah, 20. So 21. You feel pretty good about that deal for San Francisco.
He also had the lowest amount of guaranteed money out of any of those three, like guaranteed at signing.
Yeah.
He had $40 million guaranteed, so less than 50%. Whereas Carr, quarterback contract, and you think about this with Kirk Cousins.
Yep.
Carr had $100 million in guarantees on a $37.5 million a year contract to play with the Saints team that treaded water again and is going to, again, just redistribute. They're in the top 5 in cash spending the last 3 years. They're trying to work their way through this void year saga, but like they had to restructure Carr to get cap compliant, which means in a perfect world, you'd maybe be moving on from Derek Carr after this year.
Right.
You could probably do that post June 1st, but that doesn't help with your cap compliance because you got to carry the cap hit next year through June 1st.
Who's joining this club? This 20 million AAV from this year's crop of free agents. These are players that are switching teams. I think you have Kirk Cousins. I think you have Christian Wilkins.
Yep. Daniell
Hunter probably end of list. Like if L'Jarius Sneed gets traded and then signed,
he wouldn't count though. It wouldn't count.
So
we did last year be like Jalen Ramsey got a new deal as well.
So those three. That's the whole thing. So if 1 out of 4 last year, and now being mindful of 2 of those being quarterbacks, we got 1 quarterback this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like you feel right now, you feel pretty good. Kirk's going to be a good quarterback somewhere. Wilkins is going to be a good player for someone. Daniell Hunter's going to be a good player for someone. When we have this same conversation at this same point in time next year, we're going to sit here and say it was 3 for 3. It's unlikely.
And the challenge with that is because you're extrapolating a player into a new environment, right? Who's the next most likely player to crack 20 million?
I've been thinking about that. I don't think there's a very clear answer.
Is it Calvin Ridley?
I think he pushes for it. I think Patrick Queen could push for it. Mike Onwenu, maybe.
I would expect Queen and Ridley to probably be, 18?
Yeah.
Like, feels like that's the absolute ceiling for Queen at linebacker. Wide receiver, at least there's like a precedent for teams signing players in that plus 20 stratosphere. And he's the only good one.
Mike Williams got it, right? When he signed with the Chargers. It was a re-sign, but
yeah. Christian Kirk, right? Based off just the initial reporting of that deal was up over 20.
So maybe for Ridley.
We expect the guard market to be super robust, but I'd be stunned if any of those guys came out of there plus 20.
That's too big, yeah.
Your edge group is a lot of situational pass rushers. And then it's like Zadarius Smith, Jonathan Grenard. I don't think you're getting there.
No.
And no matter what the market is for Xavier McKinney, just $20 million safety is just not going to happen.
Right.
So the group's the group.
The group is the group. The $20 million AAV club is fun to consider, but there's a whole lot more that we need to consider. So be sure to stick with us. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
So I think the other interesting thing when you reconcile the 2023 free agency group is where dollars got spent, right? as top of their respective markets. The Tremaine Edmunds contract, one that we didn't mention yet. I guess one of the themes there was that's a young player. Jawaan Taylor is a young player. So I think if you're going to see the multi-year big money contracts, you're trying to look and see, okay, who are the players that have the youth on the side that would justify 2-3 years worth of guaranteed money. We've already mentioned Patrick Queen. I think he's a logical name to point to here. I think Xavier McKinney, as far as top of his respective market, he's got a puncher's chance to get into that.
How are you feeling right now? I would like to look at McGlinchey, Edmunds, Orlando Brown, Jessie Bates. For McGlinchey, I don't love it. We didn't love it at the time. I don't love it. And not that he's not a serviceable starter. That's just a ton. That's a ton for kind of an average tackle.
Yep.
Tremaine Edmunds, the 4 interceptions I think were very important for him. You had a nice stretch there in the middle of the season. Are you getting top 4 playmaking at linebacker in Tremaine Edmunds? Again, I think he'll be more comfortable in year 2. I think getting that defensive line in front of him better will be helpful. I don't know right now that you're thinking that this is one of the elite linebackers for that dollar amount at this point.
I would be inclined to agree with you. I think he was fine. I think especially when you look at Chicago and where they spent money, they certainly, I can't imagine they would have buyer's remorse on Tremaine Edmunds.
I don't think so either. But did you get 18 and a half?
It's just a lot to bet. But that's the price of free agency when you're a team like Chicago, which hasn't had success. There's kind of some shakiness. There's not a lot of attractiveness to that as a destination. You got to pay the arm and the leg. So that's a tough position to be in.
Kyle, I think one of the clear success stories of last year's free agency is very obviously Jessie Bates. Big contract, 4 years, $64 million with the Atlanta Falcons. That dude won him some games. And I think he's very much a franchise cornerstone for them moving forward. So while there's plenty of cautionary tales, Jessie Bates, which is interesting because we've talked so much about this safety class, is very robust. That's definitely one of the big success stories from last free agency.
So I think once you get past the positional value that we kind of talked about with the top names, with the 2 offensive tackles and Taylor and McGlinchey and Derek Carr, Jimmy Garoppolo, this whole group is really young guys, right? And we alluded to that coming out of the first break, but I think that's going to be really critical for teams to ask themselves how to quantify how high you want to go, because then if you're going to have the 5-year deals, you see a lot, especially with the cap kind of growth being what it is. Teams kind of covet that flexibility. And if you're going to have a guy on a 5-year deal, you want to know it's a guy that projects very favorably. Atlanta's got to feel really good about it. I would guess Chicago still feels really good about Tremaine Edmunds too.
Right. Yeah.
As a longer term contract. That was a 4-year deal. Both of those were 4-year deals. McGlinchey got the 5-year deal from Denver.
The other one was Orlando Brown in Cincinnati. 4 years, $64 million. What's your pulse check on that?
Not great. I mean, just the whole Cincinnati offensive line experience has been a journey. You're sympathetic to that. Orlando Brown, I think in his bid to be a longtime franchise left tackle and paid like it, it's kind of gotten away from what allowed him to initially become a successful NFL player, right? When you think about when he was first in Baltimore, being a right tackle is a totally different ballgame than what he's being charged with doing now.
To his credit, he's gotten what he wanted. He's been the last 4 years, he's been a left tackle, and he got a big contract. So, like, he's checking his boxes. He's playing for good teams. Are you feeling like you're getting an upper echelon left tackle in Orlando Brown? I think you're probably getting an average one. that has limitations that I have great concerns about how he ages.
Right. So, but that's offensive line free agency in general is
I know.
really
You've done your work on that.
Really volatile market. There's not a lot of success stories for big money contracts. You have, in the last 11 years, you have almost equal probability of getting a player within 2 years of their retirement as you do a Pro Bowl appearance for a free agent offensive lineman that signs on an AAV of at least $3.5 million of that year's cap. Pretty sobering number.
What's your pulse check on Dre'Mont Jones? He signed a big deal. 3 years, $51 million. That's 17 plus. That's north of 17. That's more than Orlando Brown and Jessie Bates. It's a tick less than Mike McGlinchey and Tremaine Edmunds. Dre'Mont Jones in Seattle, it always felt like he was destined to be a Seahawk because that just seems like they're into those tweener defensive linemen.
They also have a massive scheme change with McDonald.
Yeah.
That, they've taken a bath on some guys.
Yeah.
So the way that there was $30 million in guaranteed money in that contract, they could trade him and save $5 million in cap space. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's always the risk too of older coach, maybe somebody on a hot seat, give big money contract out. If you make the change, you then have to ask the question. I think there's a pretty reasonable chance Dre'Mont Jones can be a part of their plans and be a successful player in this scheme, but it's no longer the one-for-one for when you were going through all of your available information to make the decision on whether or not to sign the contract in the first place.
Yeah. He's tough for me, man. All these other 15, like we've kind of got through it. Zach Allen's another 3-year 47. That was 15.9 per. Odell Beckham Jr. was 15. So if after those two, that'll be all the north of 15 players. How many success stories are there, Kyle?
Right. Okay. So Derek Carr.
No.
Garoppolo.
No.
Going to be off the team already. Hargrave, yes.
Yes.
Jawaan Taylor, no, but time. Even though he was that player in Jacksonville too.
Right.
So
Super Bowl winning right tackle, man.
Right. Tremaine Edmunds, okay.
Yeah, okay.
Mike McGlinchey,
okay.
Okay. Dre'Mont Jones, okay. Orlando Brown Jr., okay. Jessie Bates, slam dunk.
Yeah.
So you have 2 slam dunks so far?
2.
And then Zach Allen and Odell Beckham.
No. I think Zach Allen's fine.
Yeah.
He's probably in the okay bucket.
But your distribution, you get a nice bell curve.
Yeah.
Of slam dunks and strikeouts, and then kind of could take it or leave it. But it's when you're on the open market and you're competing against 8 other teams and the price turns into what the price becomes, you don't really want okay.
Yeah. Now look, we're going to finish the conversation with success stories. We all positive in segment 3. Any other black eyes you want to bring up here? Because there's several.
Okay. So you got Alan Lazard.
Yikes.
Well,
was it 4 years, 44?
Yeah.
Yikes.
I was like healthy inactives down the stretch for the Jets.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Robert Saleh was already talking about like, we can't get out of he's going to be here next year. We can't get out of his contract. Like, oh, what a rosy picture you're painting.
Marcus Davenport, 13.
Right. At least that was a 1-year deal though. I'd rather do 1 for 13 and it be bad and just be done and over with than 4 for 44.
You roll over cap space. I mean, yeah, I get it, but also, yeah, 1 year, but that wasn't a great allocation of $13 million.
Trey Pipkins.
Yeah.
Obviously, he went back to the Chargers, but he was bad this year. Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders was on my list for sure.
25?
Yeah. How about
Juju Smith-Schuster?
Right.
Go ahead.
Nate Davis in Chicago.
Andre Dillard in Tennessee.
Oh, brother. Yeah, that was a big yikes one. Like, what did Andre Dillard do?
He was drafted in the first round.
What did he do when playing for the Philadelphia Eagles that would justify Was it 3 years, 29? Is that what it was?
Yeah, 3 for 29. He was drafted in the first round. Man, the deeper into this list that we go, the more excited I am by the contracts that are 3 for 24, 3 for 18.
Yeah.
You get a lot of really nice success stories in that stratosphere. I guess Eric Hendricks 2 for 13, probably he's been cut already.
Yeah.
A little bit of a black eye contract, but wasn't a massive investment. They were just a disaster all around. I'll leave it at that.
Andrew Wiley.
Yeah, there was nothing good about that Washington experience this year, though.
All right, we're gonna talk about the good stuff here in just a moment, so be sure to stick with us. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tournament. Whether you're betting on big upsets or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets.
So many places we could go with success stories, though. We covered
we acknowledged a lot of them. Yeah.
The big money slam dunks.
Yeah. Did we already do Bobby Okerek? Did he get his flowers?
No.
That was that's a good signing. It's 10 per. It's a healthy contract, but well, and here's back to the coordinator thing. Like, Wink's not there.
Right.
But I think Okerek is going to be fine.
He should be fine, but it is a little bit of a change. Isaac Seumalo with the Steelers.
Dude, that was on my list as well. Was it 8 per? 3 years, 24?
He signed 3 for 24. Yeah. Outstanding. Especially once Pittsburgh finally got rid of Matt Canada. I was like, oh, we got all these mean, nasty guys up front and a first-round running back who has mass to him. Let's run the ball downhill a little bit more. I thought he really shined down the stretch for Pittsburgh. So that stands out. That's not a bank-breaking contract. It was just over 3.5% of the cap for the AAV for last year's salary cap. So he's a qualifying player for like that research project that I did for offensive line signings and free agency. And he's probably the best signing from last year's group, other than Jason Kelce coming back on a 1-year deal with Philadelphia.
I'll give some love to a running back, David Montgomery with the Detroit Lions. 3 years, $18 million. I mean, that guy was awesome. He was just
Devin Singletary.
Oh yeah, Devin Singletary. Here it is, the obligatory. Yeah. Those are two good veterans that went to teams that like became engines for those offenses that were good playoff teams. And one playoff, Both those teams won a playoff game, right? Houston won, right?
Already this year.
Houston. What's that?
So Houston's going to be loading up this year too.
They got, we'll see what they do. I'm sure that's going to be a destiny. Like, I think players are going to want to go there.
Mm-hmm.
Young quarterback, good young coach. Excited to see that. Well, I mean, not really, but
right, just another team in the NFC.
Right, sure.
Hooray.
Send them.
Why not?
We'd like to trade you to the NFC for the Carolina Panthers, please.
Send me to the NFC South. Samson Ebukam with the Colts. That was another 3-year, $24 million a year contract for a player who led that team in sacks and was kind of always a rotational guy. You wondered what it could look like. Well, he gets a little bit of a bigger role, gets a bigger financial commitment for 3 years. And I thought he was the really nice change of pace player to their pass rush room for all the heavy-handed, like long-armed guys that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And it popped up on film as far as how he could complement their ability to compress the pocket when rushing the passer for that Colts defense.
How about Robert Spurlane going from Pittsburgh to Vegas, 2 years, $7 million? That dude was a baller this year, man.
Yeah.
Watching the Raiders like early in the season. I remember I was watching because the Bills play the Raiders, I think, week 3. So I've been watching all this Raiders tape. And I wound up sending a text message. We're in a group chat with John Ledger, and I'm like, dude, what's up with Spillane? Because I know that he wasn't thought of fondly in Pittsburgh. he goes to Vegas. This guy's a baller over there for them. So there's a good bargain bin. 27 years old, 2 years, $7 million. That was a good signing.
About Juan Thornhill.
Yeah.
Your guy.
I love Juan. Yeah.
Left Kansas City, went to Cleveland. He signed a 3-year, $21 million year contract, so $7 million per. In that safety market last year was pretty dry too, and it was not as deep as this year's. So I think Kevin Byard, for kind of his age juncture, deserves all the flowers he can get for getting 7.5 per from the commitment he just got from the Chicago Bears this year as one of the early signings. But Juan Thornhill played for that Browns defense that was so good with Jim Schwartz last year. Stands out as another one of these three-year, $7-8 million year contracts for really good fits within your scheme.
Dalton Schultz, 1 year, 6.25.
Yeah.
Going from Dallas to Houston. I thought he was a player like that's so helpful for your rookie quarterback. I thought that was very, very meaningful. Another one, Jabrill Peppers, 2 years, $9 million.
Yep.
Man, I wanted him so bad. I've been wanting him for like the last 2 years. I think his first year with New England was like 1 year, $3 million. And he parlayed that into 2 years, $9 million. And he really took off this past year. It's like, what have people not been seeing in Peppers? It feels like every time he's on the field, he looks really good to me. So I think they got an answer there.
You won't give him his flowers because he's a Bill, but I will. Leonard Floyd, post-June 1st signing of 1 year, $7 million. He was post-June 1st, right? Or was he like late May? I know he was after the draft.
He was after the draft, so it didn't count towards the compensatory pick formula, which was good. 10.5 sacks. I mean, it was most sacks he's had in his career and like the least amount of snaps. He was very good signing.
So 1 year, $7 million. If you're a team that maybe is in that cash-strapped bucket, and you're going to be looking for what you guys post June 1 Trey White, right?
Yep. So we get there it is, the $10.2 million. I've never lived in this world. I've never lived in this world where magically on June 1st you get a bunch of cap space, but here I am.
And Miami gets 18.5 for Xavier Howard. So we're both going to be sitting around waiting for
let's go, baby.
June 2nd to flip on the counter. See
That's my birthday. It's going to be a big day for us.
Outstanding. We'll have something to celebrate. A couple free agent signings, but examples like that, there's guys that got in late. Oh, not as many success stories as successful as what Leonard Floyd is, but obviously Jadeveon Clowney, one of the better value contracts in all of football last year on a 1 year, $2.5 million deal for how good he was.
You're not getting him for 2.5 this year.
First.
Yeah. You're not getting him for 2.5 this year. How about Dru Tranquill with the Chiefs?
Yeah.
I mean, what was that deal? I just had it in front of me and I lost it. 1 year, $3 million. Turn that into 3 years, 19, right? Good for you. Bet on yourself. Baker Mayfield. He's on 1 year, $4 million.
Yep.
Who's doing that this year? Who's the 1 year $4? Is it Sam Darnold? Sam Darnold's going to go to Denver?
No, it'd be Minshew.
No, he's already a Pro Bowl quarterback. It's already happened. 1 year, $4 million. Sam Darnold goes to Minnesota or something like that, or Denver, and just figures it out. Next thing you know, he's 3 years, $110 million next offseason.
Oh, I got another one. Didn't Tyron Smith do a 1 year, $6 million deal?
Yeah.
And he'll get a lot more than that in free agency this year. It sounds like he's not coming back to Dallas.
Yeah, that was a nugget that came out through the weekend. It's like, oh,
yeah,
he's going to the Chiefs. Got it. But
oh Lord, don't say that.
They don't have any money, but once they trade L'Jarius Sneed, they're going to have a bunch of money. So there you go. There's your path forward there.
Yeah, because they gave all their money to Chris Jones over the weekend.
All the money.
All the money.
All of it. But good for him. He got his money.
Well deserved. Any other success story contracts you got?
Levante David, 1 year, $4.5.
That was a little weird. Because there was a little bit of like stipulated money in there. I think he ended up getting like 7.5 in cash.
Good. He deserved it.
Right. But you'll get the reporting of the contract and it's 1 year, $4. It's the same reporting of the Mike Gesicki contract, right? Mike was reported at 1 year, $4, stipulations up to 8.5 or whatever. Levante David reported as 1 year, $4. Some guys have realistic chances of getting their There's stipulated dollars and some guys don't. And I guess with how good Lavonte David's been, whatever you're going to put down there as far as like stipulated performance money, just bet he's probably going to get it. So just have it in your budget.
Julian Love, I think Seattle fans are pretty excited about him. 2 years, $12 million. He outlasted all the other players there at safety. Had a good season.
I think that's all my short list names that I had here for success stories. So if your team doesn't have $91 million in cap space, don't sweat it. You will have every opportunity to add good players to your squad, whether it's Kevin Byard for 2 for 15 or Jonnu Smith for 2 for 10 or whoever else may come in the next. I haven't seen any on the timeline since we started recording, so I don't have any examples of street free agents that signed for you, unfortunately. But that's going to do it for us. Locked on NFL Scouting, Kyle Crabbs, Joe Marino. You can find us on YouTube or wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Make it a great rest of your day. We are out of here and enjoy the show. We'll be back again tomorrow as free agency and legal tampering kicks off the 2024 league calendar year.